Aloha friends, happy Aloha Friday, and thanks for tuning in to the Coconut Wire today. My name is Nick Kuchar, and I'm an artist based on Oahu. I create vintage inspired surf and travel art featuring some of the favorite spots here in the islands. So really glad that you guys could tune in today. We are going to do a little tour of my studio, and I'll tell you a little bit about my art and design process, a little bit about my background, and we'll have a good time. We'll also do a little pencil sketch, and I'll show you some of the things I have in the works. So I usually start my day playing some vintage Hawaiian albums. These are some of my favorites. I got Hui Ohana, which is some good Hawaiian falsetto. Olomana is always a classic. Some Martin Denny. It's always great for that resort tropical feel. George Helm is a really great Hawaiian musician from the 70s, and then you always can't go wrong with the Hawaiian music instrumentals. This is actually where I get a lot of my inspiration from too, is just kind of sourcing old items. These are some old 78 packagings that I found, and it's just kind of fun seeing how design was done over the years. You can definitely see a lot of my inspiration is from that mid-century modern style. I wasn't sure how intellectual property works on Facebook Live, so you'll have to play an album on your own. So I'll give you guys a minute just to pick out your favorite local music album and put it on. I've worked with Four Seasons in a few different projects. I'm working on some various projects for their property, as well as I've done a few moonlight markets over there. So that's always a great time to support some local businesses and catch a great sunset, and also get the awesome customer service of the Four Seasons, obviously. This is one of the newest prints I've done here, Makaha, which is probably about 20 minutes or so up the coast from the resort on Farrington Highway. We just released that this week. It's one of my favorite beaches, beautiful, long storied history of surfing and culture up there. Really a fun thing, really a fun project to work on. So that'll be something that features west side spots. I just have been working on several west side spots lately that are close to the resort. So I live fairly close to over there. So really enjoy kind of capturing the feel of those areas. Got the Kamani tree leaves and some of the water sports that goes on, the outrigger canoe surfing. And then if you've been to Makaha, you know of that funky backwash right on the shore. So that was kind of fun to include in there. And if you're just joining, again, this is Nick Kuchar. I am an artist based on Oahu, and this is the Coconut Wire. So we'll do another walk out here to my screen printing studio. This is where we do some limited edition screen print runs. Thought this would be a fun thing to show you folks. We have like a Pantone matching kit here where I can spec out different colors and mix them up. And so this is some of the behind the scenes of how my art begins and goes through the production process. If you are familiar with screen printing, you can see the screens with the emulsion on them. We have squeegees here that we use, put the ink on. After we mix the color, pull it down one color at a time. And this is a 2-color screen that we're going to be working on, so I guess that's a little sneak peek of something coming up here. We can keep walking here, and we will head up the staircase. Here's some of my work here. I try to find as much wall space I can to keep some in stock. A lot of it's location based, some of my favorite spots in Hawaii, and I always really like having those events where we can meet with you folks and chat about the emotional connections we have to all these different spots. So just hoping and praying that this pandemic is over quickly and miraculously, and we can get back to meeting together and having fun soon. I'm really missing one of those Mai Tais from the fish house served in the Spam can, so hope they're gonna save one of those for me after all this passes over. Here's another project I worked on recently. It's with ANA Airlines. This was a fun project where we did a bunch of luggage packaging, tote bags, and I thought it would be fun to show you folks some of my process here. This is Procreate, which is what I use for some of my design. I use several different software. Sometimes it's acrylic painting, sometimes it's sketching. So a lot of different things go into my work, and it creates kind of that textured and vintage feel that I go for. So this was just one of the little vignettes here. Like I said, that was done in Procreate, and it turned into this 12 by 18 print that we did a limited run. These are all available through ANA in Japan. So for my Japanese friends, you folks can check that out on their website there. So I thought that was a really fun project. It was a lot of fun to work on. I just had an acrylic painting go out, so the easel is pretty bare right now, but you can see some of the materials I have here. And this is my computer where I do a lot of the digital illustration work. You'll see spaced around the studio here is a bunch of different sketches. I started doing some sketches on a weekly basis, something that I just had a one-of-a-kind thing available on the website. So we're gonna be working on a little sketch here in a minute, and I'll make that available for sale for anybody that's interested too. This is Adobe Illustrator, which is where I do a good portion of my work. This is the Maili print that I just came out with. This pillbox here is a hike that's really close to the resort, really a popular place to go and get a great view and a good workout at the same time. Maili Point over there is a really famous surf spot, a good left. And the look up the Waianae coast is always that quintessential beautiful view during sunset with the different mountains and peaks jutting out there. I just took a lightweight pencil and kind of laid out what I was gonna sketch today, but you guys can just watch for a few minutes how I usually work for the sketching process and maybe give you a little bit of inspiration. My website is nickkuchar.com if you guys wanna check out that sketch tutorial after the show. So I haven't really done too much talking while I'm sketching in the past, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. A lot of my art is definitely beach inspired, dog inspired, air cooled, Volkswagen inspired. I drive a 1964 Volkswagen van that I restored about 10 years ago. And it was a lot bigger project than I thought it would be. But now that it is restored, we have a really fun time driving around, going surfing, spending time at the beach with it. I have 3 kids, 3-year-old twins, and a newborn. So it's the ultimate minivan. If you refuse to join the club of the new minivan, I guess that's the next best thing. Like I said, I love looking at old albums and old books for design inspiration of just how characters were drawn and elements were handled and like just the design language that people used back then. I guess I've always been attracted to that. I went to school for industrial design, which is product design. I graduated from Auburn University, and a lot of the famous designers from over the years really worked in that mid-century style. Furniture design and graphic design, like Raymond Loewy and people like that. Studied them a lot, and like the Bauhaus movement. So a lot of that simple design is something that is really, I guess, really strikes a chord with me. It's something that creates a timeless feel, and I think we kind of especially in Hawaii, romanticize those golden age of air travel. And so about 10 years ago, I started creating some art like this for our house. My wife wanted some travel prints and she couldn't find what she was looking for. So I created a few, and it was kind of a crazy story, because after that, a couple local galleries saw my work and wanted to carry it. So I started wholesaling to them. And as an artist, it's like, you got to learn to be a businessman, I guess. So definitely it was a big learning experience, a lot of Google and YouTube searching on how to do different things to run a business. But I'm really blessed. I get to do what I love, and it pays the bills. And cost of living in Hawaii is not cheap. So it's definitely really been a blessing how it's worked out. So this is a little vintage Volkswagen Squareback. I have a buddy named Alex who has one of these. It's just in a super cool, really desaturated blue tone. A lot of people ask me how the pandemic has affected my business, and I think with anything, like whenever you experience difficulty or like a change, you have to adapt and figure out what's going to work. So I think we've kind of done that our whole 15 years we've been in Hawaii. We waited tables, bartended, whatever it took to live here and just have the great community and culture, and obviously the weather, surfing, hiking, those things. So a lot of people have that dream, visit Hawaii and end up living here. So we've been blessed to be able to make that happen. Like I said, you can see Volkswagen, dogs, surfing. That's to a fault probably a lot of things I'm inspired by. But those are the things that create those emotional connections, and if you surf, you can look back at all those favorite sessions that you had. And a lot of times it's matters by the people that you're surfing with, and just like all of the different things that surrounded that experience, not necessarily just the waves, but if there's good waves, that definitely helps. So this is just a quick little sketch. A lot of times these will turn into a screen print, or I'll put some color on it and it'll become more of a detailed design. But I always try to tell people that are getting started out with art, you want to just keep it as loose as possible just to get started, get the ideas flowing. And that's really worked for me. Sometimes when you have that creative block, sometimes it's just really important to throw something down on paper, or if it's not even working from that aspect, just jump in the car with your board or your hiking shoes or something. And it sounds counterproductive, but it totally works. You can go get lost for a little bit. And I know for me, one of the things that really clears my head is going on a drive, just hopping on H1, ideally not during rush hour traffic, and just driving, because it kind of lets you zone out, and you're not forcing it too much. So sometimes those are when the best designs come. So I have that kids sketch tutorial on there. So if you want to teach your kids some fun little art methods, and you have about 30 minutes to give them something fun to play with, then hop on there at kuchar.com. Hop on over to Four Seasons for more information about the resort, and I'm sure they'll post this up later too if you want to look back and see anything that you missed out on. So really appreciate you folks tuning in, and happy Aloha Friday. Everybody take care. Aloha.